I'm not a trained cosmetologist or a pharmacist or anything like that. I come from a Bollywood background.
It just comes across because you're so passionate about the product itself.
Kusha Kapila has spoken about my oil twice. And suddenly we realized that what has happened in Amazon, the oil got sold out.
Being a woman founder,
Yeah.
did you find it difficult to really succeed? The challenges that you went through in your business?
So why did you ask this question? Innovation is not about discovering a new product. It's discovering a new use for an old product.
In today's episode, we have a very special guest, the founder of Soulflower, which is a D2C company in the premium personal care space, which is reinventing the wheel with personal care products, especially for hair care and skin care. We have with us Natasha Tooley, who is truly an inspiration in the way she's built her brand. In spite of suffering, challenges and obstacles in her personal journey, in her health journey, she has bounced back to life like no other. Natasha, very happy and excited that you're on my show today.
Hi Priyanka, I'm so happy to be here too.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for being here. So, Natasha, tell us, how did it all start and what was the first spark of inspiration while you were building Soulflower? What was the first spark that made you feel like, okay, this is what I really want to build?
So, actually, I think I knew what I wanted to do when I was 6 years old. I don't know, many kids do know that. But when I was 6 years old, I always knew that I wanted to do something for those that cannot speak. I am an animal lover. I used to mostly spend my time with cats and dogs, being an introvert and a very shy person. And understanding what someone needs or what an animal needs without them speaking out is, I think, a language and a skill I developed. When I grew up, I definitely knew that I have to do something more with nature. And I am an architect by profession, and I used to specialize in landscape architecture. So if you see my journey, it's kind of grown from me being a kid to becoming an architect and getting close to nature, practicing as a landscape architect. And that's when I realized that nature is not just to look at, right? You can also put it on your skin and hair.
Right.
And seeing the kind of products and the kind of marketing that was going on at that time, when everything natural was supposed to be bad for your skin and hair. All you needed to do was put a lot of chemicals from a bottle on your skin, your hair. I felt, hey, why, what's wrong with the Indian Ayurveda and the Indian natural herbs that we have? Why not put that into a bottle and make it something really beautiful that people could actually use and that would help them? And I think that is the whole journey of Soulflower.
Amazing. So, when did you feel you found your right product fit? Like, tell us a little bit about your product range and when did you really feel that, okay, this is what I'm making is really appealing to my customers?
I think you have to listen to your customers, and the day that customers always pay attention to people who actually pay for your product, not people who get your products for free. So if there's someone who's actually paying money for your product and getting a product and then telling you, "Hey, I love it," I think that's the time when you know that you have a correct product fit.
Right. So, did you take any steps to find the right product? Like, what was your process in terms of identifying those unique customer needs?
So I think I would say that a lot of inherent market research, understanding what is missing in the lives of people, I think that was the most important thing. Rather than what they already have, what is it that they don't have, or they don't know that they're missing in your life, in their life. I
Yeah.
think that is something that was important. And like I said, I kind of a little earlier on identified that with the kind of lifestyle that people have and the kind of food that we eat and the kind of places that we go to and the water that we take a bath in, there is going to be an issue in people's skin and hair. And we identified it a little early, I would say. And what if we have natural ingredients that could actually help hair fall and skin acne glow? I think that's what we identified, and we stuck to that.
Right. At a time when beauty in the industry was still catching up, and while you were building 20 years back,
Yes.
there was a lot of noise around. A lot of companies are creating innovative products. So, how did you really break through the clutter? Because you're trying to build a brand today which is cruelty free,
Yeah.
which is sustainable. And today, everyone wants products which are sustainable, which is giving back to the environment. So,
Yeah.
how did you really break the clutter, and what are the insights that made you find your first product? That okay, you mentioned to me while we were speaking that rosemary oil or rosemary essence is
Yeah.
one of the fastest selling products for you.
Yes.
So how did you really break the clutter?
So actually, how I discovered rosemary is very unique. I never thought of using rosemary for hair growth that it's known for right now, and clinically proven also. But I actually was using rosemary as a natural preservative. So I wanted to make something that didn't have preservatives and chemicals. And as I don't have any chemical background, I don't know anything about. I'm not a trained cosmetologist or a pharmacist or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I started with doing my own formulations. And obviously, if you don't know what is chemicals, you're not going to put chemicals. So I was trying to look for something natural, and that's when I started using rosemary. And when I started using rosemary in my ingredients, I kind of realized that hey, it has other properties. So natural products are very unique because they have hundreds of properties. Like you take haldi, right? I don't know, you can make a list and still tomorrow you'll come up with a study that says something new has been discovered. It can help you in now this new way.
Yeah.
So I think nature has a lot of ingredients that have a lot of manifold uses. And that's how rosemary was one of the first things that we came upon, that put it in our products, and then we realized that it is helping in hair fall. And of course it's a personal learning, because I think I told you earlier that I had a brain hemorrhage in 2013.
Yes,
And
yes.
when I had a brain hemorrhage, obviously it was a subdural hematoma, which is a kind of they have to kind of cut open a part of your head and remove the blood. So I had an open wound on my head, and I didn't have half my hair. And I, what will I do, right? There is no medicine or something that you can have. So I started using my own oils. So I made my own little formulation of rosemary essential oil and castor oil and things that I felt was something that would help. And I wanted to tell you about the innovation part. Innovation is not about discovering a new product, it's discovering a new use for an old product. Castor is hundreds and thousands of years old,
Yeah.
rosemary is thousands of years old.
Right.
But maybe the kind of usage that you use is something new. So I put it on my hair, I started putting it on my scalp, and I started using it. And you can ask people who actually were around me at that time. They said, we have never seen anyone's hair grow as fast as yours. And I think that was the, the claims, or what do you say, the clinical study. I was the clinical rat, and I actually did it on myself. And then I was like, why am I not showing this to people? Why am I not sharing it with the rest of the world?
Yeah, very curious to know, because you don't come from a background, chemical background. You were always interested in art and architecture,
Yes.
as you said. So, what really piqued your interest in the whole journey of building Soulflower?
My background is anyway very different, right? I come from a Bollywood background.
Yes.
My dad is a movie producer. My cousin is a script writer of Breathe. My chacha ji was this actor called Rajendra Kumar. I think what I've inherited from my family is that in Bollywood, what do? You try to make people happy, right? You're feeling sad, you're not feeling that good. You go see a happy movie and you feel happy, right?
Yeah.
You make people live their dreams for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I think I'm doing the same thing. I'm just making people live their dreams of growing their hair, glowing their skin every day. So it's not very different. And it's taken me 20 years to realize that I'm actually doing a similar thing. And now, with all the podcasts and all the social media, and founders are supposed to be talking so much, I am making more videos than my family, anyways.
Right. So, I think you're on the right path
Yes.
in promoting your brand and doing so. But I think one fact that really inspires me about you is that you went through so many health challenges. You had a brain hemorrhage. You bounced back to life.
Yeah, I ran the Mumbai Marathon within
And you
4
ran the
months
Mumbai
of a brain hemorrhage.
Absolutely.
When the doctors told me that I would take
Yeah.
2 years.
So,
And I
run
was
us through that journey.
Yeah, I want to say that it's because of my customers and Soulflower that I bounced back that fast. Because I was advised bed rest for, I don't know, 6 months. And I was just wondering who's going to do the work in the office. And every day I would think that, oh my God, how am I going to, like, what's going to happen to Soulflower? And we have so many customers, and who's going to be looking at the products and this and that. So I started going to office like for what, half an hour in a day. And that's how it started. So I think when you have something to look forward to, or someone to help, that really motivates, and you forget about your own personal trauma, and you start thinking about them, and you go forward and do it.
Yeah, I think that's a very inspiring story, because it requires a lot of courage to bounce back.
See, when
and
it comes to my
pursue
customers,
something.
no, if it comes to my clients and my customers, and actually Soulflower, I will kill for it. You will
Yeah.
see me answering customers. We have so many DMs that we get on Instagram, At 2 o'clock in the night, sometimes I get up, or at 3 o'clock, and I'll answer those questions. And people don't know they're actually talking to Natasha, who's
Yeah.
actually answered it. But if I see a question from a customer, I can't help it. I have to get back to them.
Yeah, that brings me to a question that a lot of founders today don multiple hats, and as you said that you're always wanting to solve for customers.
Yeah.
What are the multiple roles you play as a woman founder or just as a founder? What's a typical day for you like?
See, founders have to start with being a housekeeper. You have to be a housekeeper, you have to be an office boy. I think I'm sure you have to be an office boy, you have to be a housekeeper, you have to be an HR, you have to be sometimes you have to be a product person. Of course, I was the product person because I started making the products with my own hands in my house. That's the first product I used to make. And I haven't told you this, but I used to make the products on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to Friday we used to sell the products.
Oh, wow.
Saturday, Sunday is to make it at home. That's how we kind of started. And then, of course, we had our own factory and everything. But when I finally went to ISB for my master's, for my MBA, that's when I realized that if you want to really grow, you can't be donning too many hats. Yes, I know a lot of founders like to say that we do everything. We do have to do it, but I still think that micromanagement is not the correct way for a company to grow. You have to let go of certain things if you want to, get to something new.
Right. So, what was that one thing that made you successful? Like as you said, micromanaging, and today I'll talk to a lot of founders. They say the same thing. It resonates with a lot of founders that they don't try to do everything by themselves. What is your success mantra? What has got you successful to where you are leading today with your brand?
I think the first most important thing is that are you actually improving your customer's life? Let me tell you, the first thing is not the brand or the founder. The first thing is your customer. If you don't have a customer and you have an awesome product, what are you going to do with it, right?
Right.
So the first thing is, are you improving your customer's life? That's the first test. Do they actually want to have your product? Like I said, are they ready to pay good money for it without 100% discounting? Do they want to actually pay money for it and buy your product? That is the first thing. The second thing is, what are the difference that you're making to society? How are you helping the people who work around you? And I want to really say this, that money is not my motivator. I know people are going to say, hey, she's lying. It's not like that. I do need money. I'm not saying I don't need money. I do. But money is not the motivator that makes me do Soulflower. If I wanted to make a lot of money, I could have just been an architect. I would have
So
probably,
let's ask you what motivates you.
I think solving a problem. I think that's what motivates most entrepreneurs. Like if you see a problem and if you can solve it, you also asked me about resilience. So I think I'm not a human. I think I'm a cockroach. That is, yes,
How would you
I
say that?
am a cockroach. So I think resilience, being struck down, being proven wrong, you make a product and you work for 2 years for a product and you launch it and people don't like it. Hey, it's okay. You can't, you have to just get up and say, okay, tomorrow's a new day. I think how many people can take failure, how well you can take failure is the most important thing that makes and breaks an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think that's such an important message that you've given because our viewers on the show today are all aspiring entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who've scaled successful businesses like yours. So I think that's a very good takeaway.
यार चार पांच बिजनेस फेल भी हो सकते हैं. It's you don't have to strike one on the day one.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to learn from your mistakes. If you've made mistakes on your way and you've actually learned and you've changed and you changed the way you do your business also and improved, I mean, what's wrong
Right.
with that?
Yeah. Another, I'm curious to know about your journey because you're backed by a large VC, like Wipro VC has backed you guys. So what was that journey like and how easy or difficult was it to get that first check? Run us through your experience there.
So I think, let me say, I knew nothing about funding and nothing about VCs and nothing about any of those kind of things. I've started the company by selling, by using the money that I made from architecture and also by selling any piece of jewelry that I owned. You'll never see me wearing anything. I never went back and rebought it, honestly. So I think that's how we started, very frugally. And Soulflower is the one that has actually funded us, the growth, and the people who work for Soulflower. We have more than 100 people who work for us. That includes farmers and tribals and also IIT people and IIM. And there are a lot of people who from big distinguished colleges also work for us. And it's Soulflower that actually sustained us till a certain point. Of course, when COVID came and we are a retail first brand, so we started with the retail. In retail, you don't really need to market so much. We used to, I think, before COVID, spend 1 lakh rupees a year on marketing, which is like a joke, right? People must be spending that much in a 10 minutes nowadays.
Yeah.
So when we decided to go online and we were forced to go online because everything was shut, we realized that hey, we need to just go. We need money to tell people this is Soulflower. Do you know? Have you tried it? It was simple as that. That's marketing for me. That's saying hey, try Soulflower, and
It was more word of mouth, you could call it, that you started off
yeah,
your
yeah,
journey
yeah.
with word of
We
mouth
have been
marketing.
a total organically grown brand in that way,
Yeah.
and that is why if you see that even my products, not all products look the same, all because we've slowly grown. So coming back to how Wipro and when we met, jab we met, I would
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
is that Wipro had actually reached out to us in 2017, 2018 through emails, and we were talking to them, but we never thought we need money, so it was not about money. We used to just keep talking to them. In COVID, when actually we decided hey, we are going online, and then we said we've got to change our whole business plan, we do need some kind of marketing money. We remembered and we dug out their email, we called them up, and they said hey, yeah, let's talk. And I think it's I don't know, not everybody's journey would be that simple. I don't think it's very simple, but the way our deal happened was very simple. I think we closed it very quickly, almost within a month. I remember during COVID time, they invited us to Bangalore to their head office, and a lot of my friends told me, "Tumhara to deal ho gaya." I said, "No, I don't think it works like that, right? We're just going for a meeting." And when we went for a meeting, I all I did was I took my soaps. We make oil-based soaps
Yeah.
that are made by the tribals in Rajasthan, and they were just hand cut and very rough, and just the way we got before we polish it and make it, put it in a box and a label and things like that.
Yeah.
And I just took it, and they were supposed to, the CFO, the CEO, they were all supposed to, MD was supposed to spend 10 minutes with us, and the meeting lasted for more than an hour.
Oh, wow.
I think what was a common synergy is that they are product people, they're product first, and we are also product first. So that was a very good combination that we had. And I don't know how many people know this, but Wipro's oldest business is oil. Do you know this?
Right.
They
Yeah,
have
read
they
about
used to make food oil,
Right.
edible oils. This is what I mean. This is how we kind of met, and then we had an IB, and he said, "Don't you want to see the Excel sheet and things like that?" Which of course numbers have to pan.
Right.
But the most important thing is that what we were doing and what they were doing, and I think the total motivation to make a good product, like we said, build a sustainable company, make product that is efficacious, that actually work, was the common language that we both spoke. And
Right.
yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
we are now part of the Wipro family, and they are part of the Soulflower family.
Amazing. That's amazing. So tell me, what changed after the funding came through? Like, was there a mindset shift in terms of the way you look at doing business, the way you wanted to scale your business? What really changed after the investment
So
came
I
in?
think the most important thing that when entrepreneurs want to raise money, na, थोड़ा अपना ego कम करना पड़ता है. I mean, you feel as a founder that I have made this. It's like how every parent thinks their child is the best.
Yeah.
So every entrepreneur thinks that my startup or my company is the best. But not necessary. Sometimes there is someone who could come and tell you things of how to improve. So one thing was, I think we learned a lot when Wipro came in. The first thing that they set up was the processes. The companies, your backbone is the most important part of your process. If your backbone is not strong, your compliances are not, and especially see, we are an skin and hair care brand, right? So compliance is the most important thing. Your FDA needs to be perfect. Are you perfect in your compliance? Are you perfect in your accounts?
Yeah.
Are you perfect in all those kind of things in your factory, your manufacturing, your processes? That is all. That is the main thing that they helped us set up.
Right.
That is what, and we have also always been a product first company, like I told you. So that was the first thing. Second thing is, I think, strategy. Wipro is an FMCG. They are there. They are not a flash in the pan, right? They have years and years and years of experience.
Absolutely.
I think that experience. So every time we meet them, we come up with so many important understandings, you know. So I think what they kind of taught us was that what not to do. And as a founder, I think what not to do is more important than what to do, because you want to do everything. You know, you
Can
want
you
to
share
do.
with us those learnings of what not to do?
So I think I had like when Wipro came on board, we had like I don't know, I had more than 500 SKUs because I used to sell in the stores, and they used to say jitne zyade aapke paas SKUs and that's better. Now they brought
You mean SKUs?
yeah, SKUs. So they brought a complete change, and they said that's not the way you work. And FMCG, generally there are some FMCG that sell only one product, right? You take one product, you make it 1 crore, then you take the second product and you make it 1 crore, then third, fourth, fifth, then you go back and make that one into five. Focus on only that. And that's how we became the OG Rosemary. Because we already had rosemary, we already had a lot of oils, but were they even seen by people? No. They were lost in the clutter of products. So I think this is what we did. We cut away all the flab, you know. Like when you get a trainer, how he makes you work out and sweat
Yeah,
and
yeah.
remove all that extra weight. I think that's what Wipro did with us.
Yeah.
And we kind of chiseled out this thing that, hey, let's work on rosemary. Let's talk about rosemary. Let's make people aware about rosemary. And that's what we started doing. And I think that's how Soulflower has become. We are the largest seller of rosemary essential oil in the country.
Yeah.
I have so many big FMCGs and companies that have now looked at my rosemary and come up with rosemary products. I'm flattered. I'm really
Yeah.
flattered. And I'm so happy that so many people in this country are actually getting an opportunity to grow their hair naturally with our products.
No, that's amazing because having that first mover advantage also does help a great deal while you were building and there were, not so many players.
But
back then.
identifying that which is that product, I think this is
Yeah.
something that, founders get confused. Like we
Yeah.
said, now if I tell you कि तुम्हारे 4 बच्चे हैं, उसमें से एक बच्चे को choose करो, how would you do it?
Yeah.
That's very difficult, and that is why you need an outsider's perspective that time. You see what is that lacking in what is the customer wanting first. So
Yeah.
see, we have a lot of products, natural products can be used on skin and hair. But what we realize is that skin is very cluttered. Hair, there is not so much innovation at all.
Right.
You have the old hair oils of so many years old, and they're not even giving you hair growth. They are hair oils, they have got more than 70% mineral oil actually, which is just coating your hair, giving you a shine.
Yeah.
बट उसमें से आपको हेयर ग्रोथ हो रही है या आपका डैंड्रफ जा रहा है या फ्रिज जा रहा है, नहीं, कुछ नहीं होता. सो वॉट अबाउट मेकिंग अ हेयर ऑयल विच इज़ समथिंग विच इज़ वेरी ट्रेडिशनल ना. हर इंडियन घर पे हेयर ऑयल तो होना ही है. So why don't I take a very simple thing which is in every Indian household and turn it into something that would work for them and solve a concern.
So that's typically 21 to 45 of an age group that you're solving for. Typically, could I
My
say
age
that?
group is 18 to 34.
18 to 34.
18 to 34 is going younger and younger because of the way we live. Like I said, the kind of drinks we have, the water that we wash our hair with,
And our lifestyle in general.
and our
also.
lifestyle and the stress levels. Everybody, and also of course everybody wants to take nice selfies and have good hair when you take selfies. That is how it is. And this is also honestly, it's ironic, right? We are selling something called hair oil, which is such an old पुराना ज़माने का चीज़ जो तुम्हारी दादी तुम्हारे सिर पे लगाती थी या नानी लगाती थी. But 18 and 20-year-olds are actually using it
Right.
because they read the labels.
Right.
Let me tell you, people of 40 years old may be reading labels now, but they never read the labels. I don't think my parents ever read labels.
Yeah. No, because there's more awareness and consciousness is crept in now.
Correct.
It's happening.
Correct.
Right.
So the youngsters are actually reading the label. They are actually making informed decision
Yeah.
and deciding that, hey,
Yeah.
this product works for me.
Right. I was very curious to know about your farm to face philosophy that you have as a part of your brand philosophy that you have in your brand.
Yeah.
Right. So can you run us through? I know there's a robust R&D that you'll do in terms of the formulations that you'll develop
Yes.
for the brand. Can you all run us through that process? How you all do it on ground, on field?
Yeah, so I think the whole thing started with, like I said, trying to be as natural as possible.
Yeah.
I was explaining to you earlier that like we are an certified
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
Certified means that every ingredient that you use in the product has to be certified. So if you're saying that my finished product is organic, the ingredients also have to be organic.
Yeah.
Right? So the whole thing started from that, how can I use the most natural cheese thing, Yes, we are procuring our raw materials, but what if I can actually grow that also myself? And I honestly think I always wanted a farm in my life.
Okay.
I always wanted a farm, maybe since I'm born. I
Yeah.
always wanted a farm. It was my dream to have a farm. And I was running my own manufacturing, facilities, and I've run multiple facilities. I used to have my own manufacturing in Bangkok also. And then from there, I shifted to India. I had them, I've changed a lot of factories. So I know how to set up a unit. I know how to train people. I can do that blindfolded. So in COVID, we actually got someone who reached out to us and said that there's a school and these teachers don't know, they don't have anything to do. And this area is called Pratappur. It's the Golden Triangle in Rajasthan.
Okay.
So Rajasthan, as you know, is a desert area, but this is a Golden Triangle. So
Okay.
you have a very lot of fertile soil here. So I said, okay, can we just train the teachers? Why don't train the teachers? I'll teach you how to make the soulflower product. You teach the tribals.
Right.
And let's just spread from there. So I'm not gatekeeping any of my recipes and things like that.
Yeah.
Yes, we do it on the farm, but Aju Baju ke tribals hai, peoples hai, a lot of women, they come and learn from us how to make natural products, how to use
Yeah,
it.
because that was my next question to you. Because working with tribals is actually a very strong pillar
Yeah.
for your organization. So how do you get them motivated? How do you keep these guys motivated into?
You should
Are
see
you
how
trying
motivated
to?
they are. I make them make all Instagram videos and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
So it's about teaching them and making them believe in something. So in COVID time, we started with that. Like we kind of slowly started training them. Then they see the products. So many times on email and Instagram, we put out their pictures. We tell our customers to write letters to them, to people who are actually making your products, and they feel so proud. That hey, we are making these products for Soulflower, and we have whole families. I have generations that are now working for me.
Oh, wow.
So we've got the grandfather, grandmother, the daughter. So we have
So there's
all
a big employment. You're also employing livelihood.
definitely, and we are also
enabling
growing
them.
the herb. So it's not just making the product, of course, on the farm. Our farm is organic certified by the Rajasthan government. Now, these people on the farm didn't know how to get any certifications. Like I said, for us, certifications are the backbone of our company. We taught them how to get an FDA license, how to start manufacturing. It's not easy, let me tell you. I know white labeling is the way what everyone does, but if you actually start your own factory, it's very tough to do all these
Right.
kind of things. You've got to submit every formula to the Indian government. And the Indian government, FDA is one of the toughest in the world because we sell in 10 countries, let me tell you. It's pretty robust. So
Yeah.
getting all these certifications was something that we did. And then we have now farmers, so their wives work for us, make our products, and the farmers are the guys who are actually growing the ingredients. So we have onions, tomatoes, everything that I use in my products are more or less we try to grow as much as possible on the farm.
No, I'll tell you, a lot of startup founders like yours go through so many challenges while building a business. I think there are more downs and ups, I would say, more challenges than victories. So, can you remember any instance while you were building Soulflower and a challenge that you faced, and how did you really overcome those challenges?
So I think the toughest challenge I would say today is that bringing your story out to people, because people need to know that hey, what you're doing about. So that is a constant endeavor now. I think by not just me, by every founder is to bring their story out to the customers and to people. That is the toughest thing, without spending a lot of money and without making Facebook and Google rich. How can you make stories? So the best stories are the ones that would organically grow. Say your customer goes and tells 10 people, hey, I love this product, why don't you try it, right?
So I think that's a very interesting thing that you touched upon. Now, me being from a PR and communications background, for us it's all about storytelling and
Yes.
getting our story out there. So tell me, how do you really do it with Soulflower? How do you get your product seen, heard, and remembered by your target audience?
So I think like a cat and a dog. Let me give you an example. So how do I play with my cats and dogs, right? When I go home, my dog just lies on her belly and she makes me rub her belly, and she loves that. So cats also do that, right? So I think what I am trying to do is show the underbelly of Soulflower to my customer. ये कब देखो हम लोग क्या करते हैं. This is what we do at the farm. This is what we do this every day. We've got 30 cats and 12 dogs in the office. My first question to people who come and apply for a job is, are you an animal lover? They must be thinking, what is wrong with this company? But you can't survive if you don't like animals. So what I'm trying to say is that small things that make your story, make customers curious about you because they want to know what's behind.
Yeah. So how do you market yourself? Let's put it that way. How do you get your brand to a wider audience? How do you market yourself?
I think social media is something, Instagram is something that we've been able to use well. Just random videos, like again, I'm saying honesty works. There is a video of mine where I'm just talking about rosemary and it has 178 million views.
So can I say that showcasing the benefits of the brand would probably enable
Not
in the
even that, I
customer's
just
journey?
showcase what I do every day in my life. So I've made one video, I said, yeah, we are not gatekeeping recipes. Let's make, I've made a recipe, I made one video last year in summer where I showed people how to make aloe vera soap, how we make aloe vera soap. And that has 65 million views.
wow.
घर पे बनाओ, आप घर पे बनाओ. Like this is, so you give some knowledge to them.
Right.
See, you know what I always keep telling, this is what I tell my team all the time. Stop being narcissist. I think brands have this habit. We are not giving a lecture to our customers, you know. So I think you have to tell them things that maybe will not get you sales.
Yeah.
It will not get you sale. I am giving my recipe out to them, showing them how to make the product. How is
Yeah.
it going to get my sale? But it does, because they realize, oh my God, brand is so authentic. See, they're using just nothing. They're using no chemicals, nothing. So I think honesty and trust is something. What can you do to win the trust of your customer?
Yeah,
is
I think
most
so. It's all
important.
about authentic storytelling.
Yeah.
Right. So the more natural.
If it's
you can
authentic,
be-
it's not even a story. Like I said, it's a reality.
Yeah.
Like you put like those, the reality shows, put a camera in Soulflower, पूरा दिन क्या होता है वो, that is what we try to show.
Yeah. Can you remember like one campaign that really stood out for you or moved the needle for you as a brand in terms of marketing?
The one that I told you about, the 178 million views one.
Okay.
So that is a very interesting video. So rosemary essential oil is something that we used to tell people that you mix with oil. Like put 5 drops of rosemary and mix it and then use it, right? But honestly, I started using it directly myself. And everybody in my office used to use it directly. So I used to always say that why don't we tell the customer also, yeah? We are all using directly rosemary. So yes, it's a little strong, but once you get used to it, you can. And you don't have that headache of mixing it with oil and all that. But we were like, no, we've got to be careful. Let's just not say that. So once I just went and I think it was after lunch, I went down and I just made a video about me putting rosemary in my hair directly.
Okay.
It was simple. It just said, save your hair, rosemary, use rosemary to save your hair.
Yeah.
And I was just showing me putting like with the dropper. Now this video went viral because there was so much debate on it. Some people are like, how the hell are you using rosemary directly? Some is like, who is this person? And I used to not really be in front of the camera too much before that. So I think it sparked some interest also, that what is this crazy lady doing, putting rosemary on her hair directly.
Yeah.
But that conversation that happened kind of took Soulflower to the next level.
Right. Great. What do you think about influencers? Because in a category like yours, which is all about experience-led marketing, where people would love to try the product first.
Yeah.
Have you tried using, say, influencers or PR in a way that helps you reach out to more audiences?
I think, yeah, you should, because again, what we do ourselves as a brand is only our perspective. It's always good to have different people's perspective, and I see so much innovation and such creativity with the influencers nowadays. So many times, every day, I'm addicted to Instagram and I keep looking at videos and I'm like, wow, this little girl is making such amazing stuff and they're making really nice stuff, So also I think what happens is the authenticity part of it, because always you have a brand talking. That doesn't really, customers want to hear real stories. So yes, while I am for influencers, but I am not for influencers that come across as totally fake. Well, I would like to take an influencer who is believable. If you
Who
actually
believes in
say,
your brand, who
yeah,
totally
I
uses your
try,
product.
yeah. So even if we've had celebrity, in fact, we've had a lot of celebrity endorsements where we've not paid anyone. They've done it themselves. Kusha Kapila has spoken about my oil twice.
Okay.
Yeah, and suddenly we realized that what has happened in Amazon, the oil got sold out. And then somebody told me, Kushila Kapila has done a story. I didn't even know. So that's how it is. Madhuri Dixit has spoken about our products. So there are a lot of people who use our products. And when they speak about it, that is actually very genuine.
Right.
But even if you're working with, I think, a PR agency or paid influencers, you should choose people who can resonate with your brand and your customer.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Right. And do you think like visually your product is also very appealing, right from your logo to your design to your packaging? Do you think that really plays a role in terms of inducing purchase for your product?
So I'll tell you, I have a very simple philosophy in my product design. Spend the least amount of money on the packaging and the most amount of money on the quality of the actual product. So in fact, I see nowadays you have a lot of fancy packaging. I don't endorse that. First of all, I'm an environmentally conscious person. I don't want to generate so much of plastic waste and all
Yeah.
those kind of things. We generally use glass bottles which are recyclable, but my whole idea is that can you keep the product as simple and usable as possible? Too much of a fancy product is probably looking very nice on the shelf, but I want you to grab when you go into your bathroom and you just grab a Soulflower bottle and you use it. That's how I want it to be,
You want to keep it simple, but
simple
yet
but
relatable.
effective.
Yet relatable or
Yes,
to the consumer.
yes, yeah.
Because it has
So
to
even
relate
the
to your
price,
consumer.
yeah. So that is a point. Like a lot of people tell me, hey, why are you pricing your product so cheap? Why don't you increase? You haven't increased prices since COVID. Why don't you increase? I want everyone to be able to afford to buy. My product is cheaper than a cup of coffee, and I always wanted to be that way.
Right.
Because hair fall and skin issues don't come just to the rich or to the poor. It is they come to everyone, and anyone who needs something to grow their hair or glow their skin should come to Soulfly. It should be affordable. I think that
Yeah,
is the main thing when I design anything.
Yeah, it just comes across because you're so passionate about the product itself. I think it just comes across in the
If
conversation.
I had it my way, I would never charge people. I would just say, please use it. I just feel so happy when people use my product.
Oh, that's amazing. So let's talk about a little bit about marathon running. I remember in one of the conversations you were speaking that you run marathons.
Yeah.
And after your health scares that you had, the scare that you had with your health, brain hemorrhage that you had, you bounced back. How does marathon running actually help you to build a business, or does it even help you in terms of thinking of ideas for your business?